Valorant roster shakeups have made the NA competitive scene look rather different now that the Challengers Open qualifiers are behind us. Some of them make total sense, others are a bit unexpected, and one move might just see the return of some former kings. We'll see about that. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, it's Elisabeth. I've officially tested negative for COVID, but I'm still positively the baddest bitch of theScore esports. I saw all of your comments, so thank you for all your support, but the best way you can support me is by liking, subscribing, and hitting that notification bell. Remember the time I said I had a lot of trouble keeping up with all of the roster changes in NA?
And there have been so many different roster shakeups, honestly been kind of hard to keep track of, and it's literally what I am paid to do.
Well, I saw a comment basically calling me out, so I decided, f it, I'll make it an entire video. Guess it's not doing her job now, bitch. I was watching the open qualifiers these past few weekends, and I thought to myself, I don't recognize half of these rosters. So I decided to make a video about it. The first one of note is, of course, the one y'all cannot shut up about, Sentinels. The 2021 Masters Reykjavik Champions roster is no more, with Zom's leaving the team to be replaced by Capsitck, who came over from a crew. Zom had been a part of the team since the very beginning, over 2 years ago, and he had some thoughts about his situation.
I'm pretty sure the team knew I wasn't the problem. They're just like picking up someone else for like literally no reason. Like Shaz literally messaged me like saying I wasn't the problem and we just needed to change something, like his exact words.
Other big news was Raucus returning as Sentinels head coach, the position he held during Champions last year. The Champions run famously didn't go great, and they haven't really been doing well since. They didn't even qualify for 2022 Iceland. But they've had some time to regroup, and they've decided to get the band back together. Shazam even said on stream that he bugged Raucus every day for 2 weeks about his situation. It's hard to tell if they'll achieve their former success, but qualifying for the group stage of Stage 2 after beating Capsitck's former team is a pretty good start. In case you weren't sure how that went, here's a highlight.
Trying to combo that with the fault line. Nothing will connect. Tens with the opposite through the smoke. And it's just business as usual at the moment for Sentinels. I should say as usual, but it's business from a year ago for Sentinels. And Giovanni. Don't get knifed, brother. Don't get knifed. Yeah.
No.
Don't get knifed.
Of course, everyone loves to hate the heroes, so when Sentinels were knocked down to the lower bracket in the most recent qualifier, people said they were washed. When they qualified, people got real quiet. Well, mostly. You can't please everyone, especially in Valorant. All right, moving right along, we have 100 Thieves and the massive roster shuffles that got everyone talking. They overhauled their staff and almost their entire team. Sean Garris and Mike's have signed on as coaches with DDK as general manager, while Stellar, Will, Bang, and Derek have been brought in to join Asuna, the only remaining member of the First Strike roster. JC Stanley was let go from 100 Thieves in some pretty weird circumstances according to his recent tweet longer. He said he was, quote, told by someone with 100 Thieves that the plan was to sign me after VCT, was told post-VCT that everything we were doing was for the long term, was even asked if I'd be willing to main IGL, which I'm fully fine with. They kept reiterating how much they liked me and how flexible I was. He also said nobody individually did him wrong and the whole thing was just unlucky. Fortunately, though, he has found a place on Gen G and made Nadeshot feel the effects immediately.
Okay. We're just running it down.
Whoa.
Yo.
What?
Yo. Oh
Yo.
my God. JC Stanley.
Send him a golf shirt. This guy's insane.
This boy is on a revenge tour.
Oh my God.
Shit.
And I think I'm about to have an aneurysm. That was so disgusting.
According to Sean Garris and DDK, Ethan really couldn't fit on this newer roster, but he has found a home at NRG at the expense of Android. Ethan was announced to be on the roster a literal week before the first open qualifier started, which made it pretty hard for Android to find a new home to compete with, and his search continues at the time of writing. But for NRG, the move looks like it worked out considering they qualified. 100 Thieves qualified and truly were looking better every single time they played. They were working well together and were fragging out where it counted. They only dropped 1 map the second qualifier. TSM did a little roster switcheroo earlier this year, but most recently, Wardell and Aleko parted ways with the team and have been replaced by GMD and Seven. This iteration from the roster qualified for Stage 2 after defeating 100 Thieves in the lower bracket of the first open qualifiers. The last fight against 100 Thieves Thieves was grueling with 3 maps played and 1 map going to overtime. But TSM came out in pretty convincing fashion. TSM is a team that has really impressed me and honestly surprised me this open qualifier. I'm not the member of the team that is a fan of TSM. That title is bestowed onto the Danny Burke, but the way TSM played had our coworkers talking about how good they looked. FaZe did a nice little transformation, revealing their new roster on April 27th, and then qualified with the new trio joining Dicey and me. I mean, Baby Bay. I mean, I am definitely the one that dropped 83 kills against Virtuoso. Listen, if y'all won't let the bit die, I won't either. Or is it a bit? So a lot of these roster changes seem to pay off. I'm someone who always cautions against the sentiment of he's dead weight, cut him, but I'm also someone who looks at the facts. 7 of the 8 teams that made it through the open qualifier had some sort of change. The only team that didn't was LG. There are teams that didn't make it through, like Knights in version 1 that didn't change anything, but there are teams like NYFU and Gen G that did make changes and did not qualify. An example of this is when I saw Knights lose to Ghost Gaming, I didn't see a lack of individual skill or error, I saw a team-wide lack of adaptation in-game. In my opinion, the move wouldn't be to remove someone from the current roster. LG is a team that had no roster moves and still qualified. When I talked to Moose after Stage 1 playoffs when they lost, Moose told me that he wanted to work on the team's map pool and how they played.
For sure, we need to build our map pool because right now we have like 1, maybe 2 maps that we're really comfortable on. So for sure that's our main focus, and then just like building more chemistry, more time playing and actually practicing instead of just match, preparing for a team, for a match. Like, we're not really practicing to get better right now, we're kind of just preparing at all. Like, all of our practice is preparation. In this open qualifier, LG won at least 1 game of the 6 individual maps they played. In Stage 1 playoffs, 5 individual maps were played, and out of the 7, only 2 were won. While they still heavily favor bind, growth has been shown without any sort of roster moves, just time and work. To be fair, they did play more games this open qualifier, but they still won more. So after all this, what does this mean? It means we need to treat these things delicately. If roster moves need to be made, they'll be made, but there are other problems that can exist on a team. Losing is a symptom, and the roster is not always the disease. Remember, despite the fact that we live and breathe it every day, Valorant is still a new game. There are new agents and new maps coming out what it seems like every month, and with literal changes coming out every month, it is going to take time for these teams to prep and construct their rosters for the long haul. A lot of teams' runs have ended for the year after the open qualifiers concluded, so we'll have to see how these teams will shift, because knowing esports, they will. Hopefully, these roster changes are made for the better of the team and they aren't the wrong decisions that will literally fire someone from their job. This is the manga that a proto from Ghost Gaming recommended to me, and let me tell you, I'm feeling so many feelings and emotions. It's called A Silent Voice. I've almost cried a bunch now, and I'm only in the 3rd, I'm just starting the 3rd volume. Apparently I'm gonna sob towards the end, so that's exciting, but shout out to a proto. But yeah, look back there.